Let's do the run through. Is D Live live? Come on, D Live. Be live, D Live. D Live. Be live. All right, Twitch for me. Be live. Twitch for me. Be all right. YouTube is good. Come on, Facebook. Now, what's up with Foxhole? So slow. All right. 35 seconds to go. That guitar technique is called a harmonic, right? A little muted harmonic. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination.
Welcome to the 9dNation, the green screen free 9dNation. There is a BJJ test for me tomorrow, going to purple. Kind of a big deal, just saying. So we're going to keep this high and tight. Oh, we've got... I've got the flag from Commander already. Oh, we have a cookie. Hang on. Let's play that cookie.
Here comes cookie.
Thank you, brother, for that cookie. This is the 9dNation. And what this is chapter 36, episode 36. We're just going to get started right away because, like I was saying, I got to get up early. And tomorrow evening, I've got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu test, belt test, going to purple. That's like 5 years in. Kind of a big deal. I'll be tied up in little pretzels. All right. So, 9dNation is a Bible reading, roughly, followed by a panel. Going to keep the Bible reading to a 25-minute, 30-minute chunk. We've read so far Genesis 1:1 through 11:32. But let me just say, I came over here straight from Sloan TV and had a good time. He was playing the new Crowder sort of announcement, which I'm not the world's biggest Crowder fan, but let's see where it goes. He certainly put it out there. I feel like I'm starting way too fast, but I got to get into it. Drooby-dooby-doo is here. Anka Vanka, our mod in the house. Best mod in the biz. Yes, thank you for the is my batch. How bad is my batch? Black Yoda in the house. Panelist extraordinaire. Co-host of what has become the Wednesday Night Fun. Let me grind through Genesis 12, verse 1 through 9. Our story so far. Yahweh, or as I like to pronounce it, Ahaya. Ahaya reset cosmos rules. No human angel half-breeds, hypithagi. No murder, no blood drinking. We're from either Japheth the Greek or Ham, like Philistines, Canaanites, or Assyrians. Or we're Shemitic. Shemitic, Abraham's dad took Abram and his wife Sarai and nephew Lot from Ur, Chaldea to Haran, then died, not making it to Canaan. That's our story so far. Tonight we're going to cover Genesis 12, 1 through 9. Sorry I don't have the green screen up. I need a quick teardown at the end of the night. You know me, I've always got, hey, the Duppy Files. Love that sticker. I might have made it myself. All right. Gen 12, 1 through 9. All right, I'm covering up part of the text. Sorry. Then the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your kindred, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So Abram departed, as the Lord had directed him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. And Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the possession and people they had acquired in Haran, and set out for the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the oak of Moreh at Shechem. And at that time the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I will give you this land to your offspring. So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there, Abram moved on to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built an altar to the Lord, and he called on the name of the Lord. And Abraham journeyed on toward the Negev. It's a lot in here. Gonna get it done in 25 minutes, somehow magically. Are you kind of stoked yet? I mean, this is going to be some crazy stuff tonight. It'll be fun. Let me get the supposed Hebrew going. I say supposed. It's going to be the actual Hebrew text, but I'm going to do a terrible job pronouncing it. 12. Are we on 12? All right. I'll do 4 verses, then scroll it. Vayomer Ahaya el Abram lek laka, mertzecha, ume moletecha, ume betavicha al haaretz asher areka. Vayisha legoy gadol va'averecha. That one's hard. Va'agadela shamecha veya beracha. Vayavaracha mevarechecha ume kelecha aur venivrechu vecha kol mishpechot ha'adama. Vayalech Abram kasher deber elav Ahaya vayalech ito lot ve'abram ben chamesh shanim veshivim shana betzito mecharan. Let me scroll it up a bit here. Vayikach Abram et Sarai ishto vuef lot bin achi vuet kol rechusham asher rachashu vuet hana fresh asher asu vecharan vayetzio lalachet arza kenaan vayavohu arza kenaan. Vayav Vayavor Abram ba'aretz ad mekom Shechem ad elon more behakanan Kanaani az ba'aretz. Vayira achaya el Abram vayomer lezaracha etin et haaretz hazot vayiven sham mizbayach ahaya hanira elav. Beatek mish sham hahara mikadem levet et vayet ohalo beit el miam v'hayi mikadem ve'yen sham mizbeach ahaya vayikra beshem ahaya vayisa Abram haloch v'nasoa hanega. Okay, that was one of the hardest ones since I've been doing this. All right, so there's 22 minutes left. Going to try to get done within that time. To drill into this, let me check the chat, see what's going on, and we'll get going. Looking good. All right, so we know every word from prior studies, prior readings in verse 12:1. What it basically says is, Yahweh, or Ahia, told Abraham, blow on from your country, your family, your father's house to a land I'll show you. Like, just travel like a river. Now, is he kicking him out of Ur the rest of the way? Is he kicking him out of Haran? Like, is he getting booted out of his mother's basement, basically? Like, leave your family. Come on, man. Come on, guy. I don't know. So, our story so far, I'm going to add or tweak the last sentence. Ahia told Shemitic Chaldean native Abram to move out of Haran. Is Lot at this point kind of like the adopted kid of Abraham? I have to say, probably. Like, Abraham's brother died when Lot was pretty young, so it seems like the grandfather took care of him, but now he's gone, so falls to Abram. Let's look at verse 2. There are 2 new words here. That's just me counting. That's not a pointing flag. 2 new words. Va'agadela comes from gadol, which is very close to gadol. It means to grow up and become great, or become gadol, which is great. There's 115 times where you see gadol as a word stem in the Old Testament, or the Law and Prophets. To grow with a sense of substantial. The other new word here is berakah. That's a blessing. There's 69 usages. It comes from the word barak, which is to bless, and we've covered that word before. So this verse tells us, I will form you into a great nation and bless you and make your name great, and you will be a blessing. So our story so far, I'm going to change that last sentence to, Ahia told Shemitic Chaldean native Abram, he will found a good great nation and move out of Haran. All right. Verse 3, we know all these words already from prior readings. Essentially, I will bless who blesses you and diminish who curses you, and all earth clans will be blessed by you. Let me say that again, because that's my take on it. I think I can back it all up, though. I will bless who blesses you and diminish who curses you. And all earth clans will be blessed by you, or nations. This word for curse is more the make unimportant. It's not the one like Canaan was cursed or Cain was cursed. It's the other one. It's the one where makes to a trifle, makes unimportant, like you're cursed. You're blah, 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 blah. So our story so far, we can add, he will found a good great nation. So move out of Haran, and good news to all. However people treat the Abraham nation is how Ahio will treat them. If you knew that if you treat Abram's descendants well, you'd do well, would you do it? Are these the leaflets you drop in a nation before you invade it? Not trying to be a butt. I'm just saying there's a pattern here. So our story so far. We're either Japheth the Greek, Ham like Philistines, Canaanites, Assyrians, or Shemitic like Chaldean Abram, who Ahio said, move out of Haran and found a great nation that will be a multiplier reflector of how the other people treat the Abram nation. So it's like he's going to be rubber, you're going to be glue. Whatever you say to him is going to bounce off of him and stick back twice on you. Or we could word it, Chaldean Abram, who was destined to found a great nation. Nice and short. That's how we'll carry it forward. All right, let me check the chat. I'm moving fast and ignoring the chat. Oh, we're taking the tags right off. We don't follow the rules here. Have you seen in the chat? The tags on the pillows are coming right off. Pahusk is in the house. Evening, friends. Miss 320, we know you have a... Listen, I'd like to join you in the fact of going to sleep early. We'll see what I can pull off. I'll have to explain to my co-panelists here in a bit. I got to wake up early as usual, and tomorrow I got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu test, which only comes once every couple years. Stripe tests every few months, but this is purple, going from blue to purple. All right, let's go to verse 4. Let me make good use of the time. We have all these words. We've used them before. Abram left as Ahio told him to, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he emerged from Haran, his great coming out party. I'm coming out, dun dun. I got some countries to conquer. I should really rhyme better. I feel like this could be the classic trio. Old man, wife, adopted child, emerging from Haran to go colonize Canaan. Watch for these patterns. I'm just saying, going back and forth between Haran and Egypt as father, mother, child. An old man, his wife, and an adopted child. I'm just saying. I don't know if Duppy's in the house, but his ears should be going, huh? This doesn't really change our story so far. So we can go to verse 5. This has got two new words, Rehusham and Rachashu. Rehusham comes from Rakush, which is property or goods. There's 28 usages in the Old Testament. Pretty much means possessions or property. Rachashu comes from Rakash. So we got Rakush, Rakash. It's to collect and gather up property. So there's 5 usages of this in the Old Testament, and it pretty much means acquire or gather. So it's the things thinged, or the gatherings gathered, or the stuff stuffed. Rakush, Rakash. So to put it all together, Abram took wife Sarai and nephew Lot, and their accumulated accumulations, and the people they grew close with in Haran, and they left for Canaan, and they arrived in Canaan. I say they grew close because that's a word for creating, or the word here is created. Like, these aren't just the people they made friends with, they built them. I think it's like a posse. I'm going to start calling this their posse, okay? So they took their posse that they had grew in Haran. So our story so far is this. Ahio reset cosmos rules. No human angel half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. We're from either Japheth the Greek or Ham, like Philistines, Canaanites, or Assyrians, or are Shemitic, like Chaldean Abram, who was destined to found a great nation with his Haranese posse. There, I said it. All right, let's go to verse 6. Verse 6. Sorry that my non-green screen self is covering up much of the text. Let me check on the chat. Booted from Pinata. That's Sloan, you know? Like, can't take him anywhere. Yeah, he bribed his way back in, too. I mean, you don't want to boot Sloan from your chat. Ultimately, I think that's the right thing to do. Go ahead and reinstate him. You'll be happy. No, it was all a misunderstanding. You all know that, right? Memes. Oh, Anka Vanka has filled up her faves. I didn't know that could happen. All right, let me go to verse 6. There's only one new word here, elon. That means terebinth. There's 10 usages in the Law and Prophets. What is this? It's a small southern European tree of the cashew family, and it was a source of turpentine. So I guess he's going to where those typically grow, or a particular one in particular. But everyone wants to call it an oak. The pictograph is an ox head. So it's a strong tree, I'm guessing. All right, now, I want to share... Check this out. I'm going to share this link. All right, let's see. Set you up to be... Noise. Revo Deutsche is in... what's he watching on? He's watching on Twitch. Thanks for watching on Twitch, Rev. Oh, no. Busk. You do your thing. You do your thing. My chat is your chat. My chat is your chat. I'm done reading. I'm just now running through, halfway through, and then in 10 minutes-ish, we're going to start up a panel. And it's going to be rowdy. I just wanted to share that article because the plain of Moreh, it's the oak of Moreh. It's here that Jacob buried the strange gods brought by his household from Haran. We haven't gotten to Jacob yet. But, you know, we were talking about how Abram's dad was an idol maker. It runs in the family. Jacob's going to have some household gods as well. Joshua set up the stone of testimony. The oaks described in the plural. It's probable that this word is to be taken as a collective for an oak grove. Shady spot where you might, you know, if you're a Bedouin, you might pause. Captive Jews were sold here a lot, I guess. And there's no tree there nowadays, supposedly. At AD 330, they lost track of it, according to this article. But the Hebrew word for terebinth is elah, where here it says elon. So they're saying it's the Quercus pseudocifera. It says the tree may also have been a teacher. And I've told you guys several times that there's this vague hints over and over again that trees can symbolize people. And I'm not convinced that the tree of life is not, in fact, Jesus. I know it's crazy. Still looking into that. All right. So to put this one all together, Abram zipped through to Shechem as far as the famous Moreh Oaks, and at that time Canaanites were there. So let's put it all together. Ahia reset the cosmos with rules. No human angel half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. We're from either Japheth the Greek, or Ham like Philistines, Canaanites, Assyrians, or Shemitic like Chaldean Abram, who was destined to found a great nation and zipped over with his Haranese posse to the famous Moreh Oak in Shechem. Could have said oaks. I just said oak. Could be plural. Let's go to the next verse. I think we got 3 more verses. 3 verses in 7 minutes. Can it be done? Only time will tell. You know, I got it so I can't see the chat. Let me fix that. Tap the red pill. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes. Oh, is Leah Worth in the house? Hi, Leah Worth. Fox hoppin'. Fox hoppin' in hot stuff. Leah Worth. You missed the part where I was terribly pronouncing Hebrew poorly. Verse 7 has no new words. There's one note about so in the New American Standard. Many translations put and instead of so, and I think that's a bit more accurate from my limited experience. That's what my notes said. What am I talking about? Why did I say that even? What verse is this? 7? So he built an altar. I'm saying it could be and he built an altar. Subtle difference. May come in handy to know that later. So we'll put a pin in it. Chaldean Abram, who took his Haranese posse to post up in Oakton, Shechem. Let me shrink it down. Posted his Haranese posse in Canaan's Moreh Oak, Shechem. Or you could say Abram first stayed in Canaan with his Haranese posse in Moreh Oak, Shechem. This is all God ordained. Per 12:7 and throughout the story, it's going to constantly say, God ordained this. But I'm not going to keep that phrase in this summary so far. At least I didn't think I was going to. We'll see. Let's go to verse 8. 2 more verses in 5 more minutes. Can we do it? It's got 2 new words. Viatek comes from atek, or to move, to proceed, or advance. 9 usages in the Old Testament. It's basically to continue on. It can even mean just to get old. Vayet comes from natah, which is to stretch out, spread out, extend, incline, or bend. There's 213 usages in the Old Testament. Stretch, often angled upward. It's pretty clear use here. So before I summarize this verse, note Bethel means God house, but it is a proper name here. You see the east-west thing. He's going west, which the Bible says is always a good thing to do. And he's got Ai, or Ai, a Canaanite city to the east, and Bethel, God house mountain, on the west. And he's asking for a haya for guidance from this position. He's got a joker to the left of him and the right thing to do to the right, right? Like he's got, to the east is Ai. To the west is where he's supposed to go, God's house, or God house mountain. So our story so far is no human angel half-breeds, no murder, no blood drinking. Bloodlines, Japheth the Greek, Hamites with Philistines, Canaanites, and Assyrians. Chaldean Shemite Abram takes his Haranese posse and camps between Ai and Mount God House. So he's working really closely with God at this point, right? He's consulting God, saying, easy money to the right. What you want to the left? Let's look at verse 9. It's going to take just a minor second to look at verse 9. It's so short. Our story so far, and then we'll start the panel. No human angel half-breeds. No murder, no blood drinking. Bloodlines. Japheth the Greek. Hamites with Philistines, Canaanites, and Assyrians. Shemite Abram took a posse to Negev. And that's where we'll leave it for the week. Let's get cracking. Crack-a-lackin'. That was Genesis 12, 1 through 9. I'm going to stop the music cold. I'm going to destroy my own video. I'm going to go to the link and replace it with the classic Jitsi, which is going in the chat. And let's see what happenings. What happenings? What will happenings? Oh, I better get in there in case it gets rowdy. Part 2. For those that are new, if you're watching the replay, or all one of you, this is where we bring in the panel. Let me close up some notes. Let's get some call notes going. Close the checklist. Close that. Close just about everything. Help me remember. Oh, open the wrong thing. Come on, call notes. That's what I need. Where is? I heard a panelist. Who it be?
That's not me. No, that's me.
Hi, Black Yoda.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Hey. I feel like it's been a week.
Yeah, 7 days to do that to you.
Yep.
What's going on? I hear you trying to get a purple belt tomorrow.
Yep. They're going to tie me up like a pretzel. The black belts will all be lined up.
And you said you've been doing this for 5 years?
5. Yep.
That's an odd time to get into something like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. I had been doing Krav for almost a decade. And so it kind of just spilled out. A bunch of people I knew were doing it, so I got into it.
Got you.
It's fun.
So, what are you expecting to happen tomorrow?
I think the way they're going to do, it's not really a test, it's just an event. It's probably going to be 30, 40, 50 minutes of just straight rolling. So it'll just be grind work, do work for 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 5-minute rounds, 6-minute rounds, probably 8 of them, 7 or 8 of them, 6, 7.
One of my old neighbors, he does Taekwondo. And last time I talked to him, he was supposed to be doing a competition. But Sheldon, he's like 6'4", 6'5", stocky, right?
Well,
solid, right? There was only 2 people in his weight class, and when the night of the competition, the guy that he was supposed to go up against backed out. And I don't blame him. Like, when you actually see Sheldon, like, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'2". That's not a shabby height. You know what I mean? Dude, I gotta look up when I look at Sheldon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that was kind of funny when he was telling me the story. If anything, he was disappointed. He was because it's not really a lot of people that he can spar. Well, that was a competition, but it's hard for him to, have somebody on his level physically. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He was really disappointed with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Once. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to ask if you compete.
I have done one Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament about a year ago, and there was this guy that was pretty new, and he was a personal trainer. He probably had like 2% body fat. He was shaped triangular, like his shoulders were out to infinity, and his waist was like, he was just ideal shaped, like hardworking, like big old muscles, upper body. But he was pretty new at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he was a last-minute entrance, and they said to the division I was in, do you guys mind if this guy kind of, he's really heavy and built, but he's also kind of new to the sport? And we're like, yeah, of course. What are we going to say? He won. That was a tough fight. It was a tough fight, but I learned a lot. I mean, when you put yourself to a test, you solidify your knowledge real time.
Well, that's the only way to grow.
It is, but it's not. It's a little scary.
That's when you let your son stay at home.
Yeah, he didn't happen to see that one. I would have been happy for him to watch, because I did okay. Let me tell you one other story about that. He had me in an Americana, so I'm on the ground. He had me flat. He had me in an Americana, and he went ahead and, pulled enough that I was like, all right, tap. It took about 2 minutes to get. It was a pretty short match. So I was like, tap. He lets go, and this loud snap sound comes out of my elbow. And he hops up and he's like, no, no, no. He thought for sure he had broken my arm.
Did it just pop?
It just some weird loud sound. It was slightly sore the next day. Nothing big. I think it was just a tendon kind of popped around or something.
Sometimes, the older we get, like when I went to the chiropractor, they would just be popping stuff that I didn't even know needed to be popped.
Yeah.
It could have been something as simple as that,
Yeah, it probably was. But from his perspective, he just felt and heard this loud snap, and he was like, it showed his heart, though. He didn't want to hurt nobody.
Yeah, I can see that.
Let me introduce Pythaggy. Pythaggy's sitting.
Mr. Pythagoras.
Yeah. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, I skipped. I'm looking it up right now. I was outside smoking a cigarette, and I got curious about Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Because they were saying Lot went south. Sorry, people,
Right.
I skipped ahead a little bit. And let me hold that thought because I'm still on Google right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting. I think that's about what, chapter 16 or so, 17 maybe.
Oh, where they divide, where they go their separate ways. I can tell.
No,
Yeah,
that'll be like.
No, it's the next. It's the next chapter. It's 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up.
But then he has to rescue Lot from captivity, and then the Sodom and Gomorrah stuff happens. The Battle of the Nine Kings is not too far from now, and that thing fascinates me.
Yeah.
It feels like a little Lord of the Rings section.
Oh, that's your meaning. Okay.
Well, also, I feel like I didn't ever even notice it before until I was doing this reading.
Yeah,
It's,
me too.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Because you have to wonder, like, why was Abraham so famous in his own time and like feared?
Right.
You got to wonder what the heck is going on with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're supposed to believe that God was striking down his enemies and stuff like that, but there had to be more to it. Gotta be something that we're not being told.
Well, I was kind of thinking about this when G. Ross was doing his reading and asking if is he getting kicked out, right? We know the whole story, but imagine being in a situation you don't know what's going to happen next, And then you got to think about the domino effect when it comes to like lineage and everybody else that takes place in their bloodline. There's cause and effect. And what I mean by that is you got to be in a certain place for your kid to meet whoever they're going to bump into and so on and so on and so on, the bloodline, right? And I had that in my head. So that's easy to conclude because we know the whole story. But from their perspective, I don't know how they would have perceived it, G. Ross?
Yeah, and what I meant earlier, and I think I didn't want it super clear, is God sort of telling him, get off your butt. There's a hint in the text that they were supposed to go to Canaan because Tehran, or whatever his name is, the dad, Abram's dad, he takes them He takes them to Haran, but they're on their way to Canaan, but then he dies in Haran. So they already had Canaan as a destination before God says anything to Abram in a vision. And as Pete Thaggy points out, the time gets really nonlinear in this, but I would say that the way it's written, they knew they were going to Canaan before the time Abram saw the visions.
Mhm.
And I think if he wasn't prompted, he was going to just settle and stay in Haran. Pahusk, the cousin of Pahusk.
Is this a G. Ross show?
Sure is.
Commander.
Good to see you, Commander.
I thought I gotta see if I can do this off of my damn phone.
Nice.
And then P Huck, I thought, well, I'll be P Huck's cousin.
Well, the way I'm pronouncing it is you're now Buck's cousin.
That's just rich.
Nice. I may have just pointed. I'm going to throw the quiet pointing flag. You know, I've never.
Good to see you, Thaggy. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
How's it going, Captain?
Good. Got most of my work done.
Grats.
What was it that you were working on?
I got to load my truth machine with ammunition.
Right.
I got Owen Benjamin.
Yes.
I'm getting hooked on him.
Mm-hmm.
Getting hooked on that dude.
Did you see his Dark to Light about 4 or 5 episodes ago?
No. Honestly, I've only seen. I was watching the other one yesterday when he was talking about chickens, and I'm like, this dude got a wealth of knowledge. And then today he's talking about work, and I'm like, okay, I'm hooked.
Mm-hmm.
He got me hooked.
You know, he predicted the pandemic like 6 months before anybody knew about it. He just saw it coming. It was crazy.
Wait, you say 6
Doobie
months?
doo.
Because I mean, they had that get together, and
What's up, Drew?
they had that get together in like October or something like that in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and so you're saying he was predicting that before that?
I'm trying to remember. I just remember that in my world, back in like January, February of 2020, he was busy kind of giving a feel of how it was going to go down, and I felt like he was ahead of the curve. But I don't really remember details.
You know, it's hard for me to remember if because I remember towards the end of 2019, we were getting all kind of footage of what was happening in China with people just falling out in the streets, dead, and just, you know, the funny part is it just never really happened like that here, right? So that was just all propaganda.
Yep.
But I can't remember if I knew about that get together that they had going over the simulation. I don't remember if I knew about that at the end of 2019. Or if I learned about it, or if I learned about it after they started pushing all that nonsense here. I honestly don't remember.
I don't think I heard about Event 201 until after.
Dude, I got so much stuff in my head at this point. Dude, I gotta leave notes of notes.
Right.
If that makes, dude, literally, I'm not joking. Like I'll text message myself links to remind myself, you know, because even though I write it down, I'm just like, where did I put my note or just whatever, right?
Yep.
It gets pretty bad.
Just one calendar, man. One calendar. One of the biggest things that'll screw a person up is having multiple calendars.
Yeah. What has Owen Benjamin been talking about recently on why you're so interested?
He was talking about raising chickens and how they raise chickens, and he's like, you know, there's not much to it. and then he tells how to do it. And then today he's like, you know, if you're depressed, it's because you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't work. If you work and achieve something, you don't have depression.
That's a good point.
I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. When we don't achieve our goals, be them daily or whatever, it's that'll lead to it. But you know what? If you don't reflect at the end of the day and look at all the stuff you accomplished during the day, then it's easy to feel that way. But if you reflect, and you'll be like, if you reflect at the end of the day, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff that you would have not even really realized that you did. And that gives you a good feeling before you go to bed. I mean, knowing that, hey, I did get some shit done that I needed to get done. Drew, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you.
You too, sir.
Ruby Doo.
And the rest of y'all.
Oh yeah.
So, Mr. Pythagoras, what are your thoughts on tonight's conversation or Bible thump?
Next Bible Thump.
Yeah.
We didn't cover very much. It seemed like a few locations came up, and then we have the mysterious oak or sumac or whatever kind of tree it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but it's about to get juicy. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, no, I think we're all, even G-Russ, we've all read ahead. It's just
Right.
kind of, yeah.
Well, let me ask this. Any impressions? Like I feel like he's at a crossroads, right? He's paused. And he's clearly juxtaposed between AI and Bethel.
Mm.
And I don't guess there's a lot to say about that, but there's some kind of a temptation there, right? He's like, I kind of want to go to AI, but I don't know why. What could make him even think of going to AI?
What's over there?
I don't know.
Well, it's an important crossroads. That valley that the two cities sit in is basically a crossroads from east to west and north to south. And so that location, Bethel, will keep coming up again and again and again. So we know of its strategic or geographic importance. It's going to be a path traversed many times by the descendants of Abraham. However, there could be another significance because we're told here that Abram built an altar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that repeats because Jacob will build an altar there. And you know, in the time of the judges, people are constantly going through there, and you know, maybe because it is the house of the Lord, maybe it has some uber significance that we're not aware of, you know, because a lot of the details get lost in these oral traditions.
Right.
What I mean is, you have to imagine the scripture being an oral tradition first, just like every other culture had, until the time when it was later preserved in writing.
Mm-hmm. Could it have like a ley line crossroad there too, maybe?
Never thought of that.
Like a Georgia Guidestone moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the AI, is this the same place that Joshua tore up?
Good question. He tore up
Probably.
Jericho, or was that Jericho?
Because it's supposed to be like outside of like it's supposed to be around like a Canaanite town or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's Canaanites. It's one of the ites. But you know, his patriarchal God wants him to go to the Negev,
So
more southwest.
on here it says in Hebrew, "Hey, I" stands for the ruin.
Okay.
But lately, I haven't been trusting Google, so who knows? You know.
Oh, good point. The only other thing I had was on the name, well, the city, not the name,
Yeah.
the city Haran.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's still preserved. It's a protected site. It's in Turkey. It's in what is that? Eastern Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a bunch of like mud huts. So apparently,
Cool.
that's how they lived back then. And yeah, they're trying to preserve it.
Keep it just the way it was.
So I clicked one of the tabs that says, "Where is modern day Ai?" All right, however you pronounce it. It says a town of central Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Haran is up in Turkey. AI is down in just east of the Dead Sea, right? Something like that.
It's in the middle, right?
Something like that, yes.
Which one of these do I want to click?
So I think the only other thing I wanted to get comments on was, did I make a case that they grew like a organized crime unit while they were in Haran? Because they took a crew with them.
Wait, hold on. Not to cut you off.
No, it's good.
One of these maps popped up. Pathagi.
Mhm.
What was one of your comments just a second ago about? Did you say something about the Dead Sea, or was I just reading something?
No, I did.
Oh well, yeah, we're just trying to find it on the map, and I
So
thought it
this,
was somewhere in the middle.
so this map that I'm looking at, it shows both Bethel and AI, northwest of the Dead Sea,
Mm-hmm.
like northwest,
Yeah, that sounds right.
pretty evenly. Ah, man, I wish you could click and drag on that. And it's north of Bethlehem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not all
Pithagi,
that familiar because I'm not all that familiar with that one. I don't know.
AI is going to come up again. This won't be the last time we see it.
Oh, really? Should I look it up?
I think it comes up a couple more times. I said that. Now I'm going off a vague memory.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we can also do preview of the visit to Egypt, because he makes it all the way down to Egypt and has his first stay there and kind of behaves like a naughty man.
Oh yeah, that's what Anka wants to talk about in the chat.
Oh, yeah, Anka, you want to, yeah. So he's going to go down and pimp out his wife.
I wouldn't characterize it like that, though.
Well, because he lied to the Pharaoh. You got to keep that in mind. He what did he say? She was his sister or something like that.
Yeah, and Pithagi's right. He's not selling her for money, but he is like, hey, they're gonna kill me and steal you. So for both our good, just tell them we're not married.
But I mean, the Pharaoh did drop some splurge on him. He wasn't upset about that. You know what I'm saying? Keep it real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made some cash moolah.
Yeah.
Oh,
just
there's a pharaoh named AI, Duppy says.
Oh, there's Duppy. There's the Dup, man.
You know what Owen Benjamin said?
What?
Owen Benjamin said that the roosters, they screw every hen every night.
Nice.
I just thought that might tie in with your.
It does.
Prostitute and your.
Pharaoh liked the look of Sarai.
Yeah.
She was 75.
Dude, I so want to jump ahead right now. Wait, she was that old?
I think she was 10. She's 10 years younger than Abraham.
Oh, so 65.
65. Yeah.
Well, the oxygen was better back then. She was probably holding it down.
Yep. So there's a Chops ITMC in the chat says there's an archaeologist stood upon some bichromiate pottery and said it wasn't because it wasn't Cypriot in origin. But I don't know what that's in context to. So Ankavanka is bringing up a good point. Like, I don't think God approves of Abram's actions. I don't know how to prove that. I think he didn't want him to lie about. He wanted him to protect her. They would have had a showdown. I mean, who knows what would have happened? Would they have fought Abram? And does Abram always bring the Haranese posse with him? Like, he probably would have had like 20 strong. Well, we'll see in a few chapters. He's got some well-trained, hand-picked bodyguards.
Oh, I just interpreted Chop's comment. He's backing up what you and Yoda were saying.
Yeah.
So if you find pottery, bichromiate pottery that's not Cypriot in origin, it's implying that the climate and conditions were the air and the conditions were different. And he's saying it's proven archaeologically.
Got it.
You can let me know in the chat if I got that right, Chops.
Good catch.
You know what? When were the trees cut down? I forgot. Was that before or after the flood?
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, like the Babel stuff, Tower of Babel and all that.
No. I'm talking about the giant trees that reach the heavens and whatnot. Because at
Is
one
that
point,
from Enoch or Jasher?
no, that should be in Genesis. Wait, you know what? That's a good question. Damn it.
Enoch, I believe.
Was that Enoch?
I think so. Thanks, Drew.
Well, the only reason why I was asking is because it goes back to the whole oxygen thing.
Right.
Well,
and Duppy's favorite topic of the giant tree.
Oh, a cat.
And
all right. So,
and then okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'll type it in the chat. I got a question for Duppy.
no, I was gonna ask a question, but that's still, kind of like jumping ahead. Save a little something for next week.
Next week's going to be thick, so we can preview that a little if there's something.
Well, why was he so concerned about his wife catching attention? Like, they hadn't even gone there yet.
Right.
Because she was just that hot.
She was super hot.
We're talking
He's probably
like
tired of fighting
10,
people
11.
off.
She was a dime.
Here, let me read.
Yoda, that got Yoda laughing.
No, because all right. So I know this is going to be off topic. So when I was working in Vegas, I worked at an electronics robotics company, and one of the guys I worked with, he was homeschooled, and him and his family were all about the Bible and whatnot, and there was a Facebook conversation, and this is after hours and whatnot. I'm at home, and him and his friend, they got into a conversation about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And the guy that I worked with, he was talking about how his friend was speculating that they had a family and kids that nobody, ever talks about. And the guy I worked with was, this is so bad, people. He was like, no, Jesus would never do anything like that. No, not Jesus. And real simple on Facebook, I typed in, what would Jesus do if he saw Mary Magdalene in a thong? Right? And dude, all hell broke loose on that conversation. So when I started laughing, that for some reason that popped in my head. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Man, that was a fun conversation.
In the Gnostic Gospels, doesn't it say that Jesus kissed her on the mouth?
I don't remember.
I think I remember something like that.
Yeah. like a little tongue action.
He actually spit his drink out.
I did not mean to start that kind of conversation.
And
It's
the
only
Bible
water.
study has gone off the track.
It's only water, people. Oh man.
Commander Sloan, what was that? 25 minutes?
Wait. Hold on. Forgive them for they know not what they do.
That's longer than the kids in your neighborhood play basketball.
7 minutes.
Right.
7 minutes. That's all they play.
Oh, that's funny. I need a cigarette now. Shit.
That was too much for you, right?
It's a delicate line. I walk a delicate line, people. Like, I got to know about the evil in the world, but at the same time, I got to be good. You know what I mean? It's a delicate line.
P. Thaggy, what chapter is the Hyksos?
It's not. It's not. It's a leading theory or hypothesis of one of Duffy's favorite authors or
Right.
diggers.
So the Exodus?
Yeah, we're going to say Exodus, yeah.
Yeah. The Exodus and the Hyksos rebellion may be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to spoil it, yeah.
Sorry. Well, the Exodus at this rate is in 2025, I think.
Oh, yeah. All right. Good point.
I love.
Can we hold people in suspense that long?
I don't know. Judging from tonight, I could have done 2 sections.
I thought so too.
I gauged improperly. But
yeah, because that first part, you could have blew through that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all of this stuff is about to start getting juicy.
True.
Okay, can I skip farther ahead?
Please.
So, I don't know how you guys know Arizona, but Phoenix is widespread. It's not just like centrally built. You know what I mean? It's very widespread. By miles, right? And you got cities that are connected to it, like Tempe, Mesa, Chandler, East Mesa, whatnot, right? So I rented a house in East Mesa about 15 years ago. And I convinced my son's mother to let him come stay. And it was just me and him. And he would go back and forth between my place here and her place in San Antonio. And my neighbor next door, her and I are the same age. She's like 2 months older than I am. And she's single, right? And I think I was like 30 or 31, right? Well, when she went to school, she went to a Bible school. And then when she went to college, the first college she went to was a Bible college, right? And for some reason, we were talking about Lot. And I was at work, and I was taking a smoke break. I do not remember why we were talking about Lot. And I made the comment, well, it's really dirty how his daughters did him, in the end. They got him drunk, so they could get pregnant. And she was like, what are you talking about?
Mm.
And I was like, you don't know about what the daughters did? And she was like, she's just baffled, right? And I was like, no, his daughters were worried that they were never going to have kids. So they got him drunk and, had sex with him. That didn't happen. And I'm like, look it up. It's in the Bible. Like, what, how do you not know this? You know what I mean? Dude, her whole world was just shattered because apparently they don't teach that kind of stuff in Bible school. You know what I mean?
They should.
First thing out of her mouth, you would know something like this. I was like, I did not make the Bible. You know what I mean?
Shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was funny when it happened. Like, she didn't know how to process that. And I was like, this is only one story. There's a lot of stories in the Bible that are like really, foul. You know what I'm saying?
If you got a 20, 30, 40 member household member church, you're going to skip over the tough stuff, aren't you? That's got to happen a lot.
Ask my son, dude. I don't hold back. Like, big, little, good, bad. I keep it real with him.
Yep.
But I get why churches would not want to touch on that.
But they shouldn't skip anything.
No.
If they're going to teach that the Bible is complete, necessary, and sufficient, they should teach the whole thing.
Yeah. I was actually, it doesn't surprise me why she never learned that story. But at the same time, it does surprise me. Like, you're only going off of, turn to this page, turn to that page, and look up, are you not really going through it yourself?
Right.
You understand? Like, but dude, I had so much fun messing with her about that conversation. Oh my God.
Well, what about when the angels come to visit Lot in the city and he's like, we want to have sex with those angels. All the people outside. He's like, have my daughters instead.
I don't know if I didn't bring that up in the conversation because it was so funny to me that she didn't know about the, trying to have kids part. Had I thought to have that conversation, dude, that would have just made it funnier.
Right.
I would assume that, well, it's kind of hard to even know about Sodom and Gomorrah without even knowing about that part. How does the church avoid that conversation?
Yeah, I don't know.
They just
I don't go to
gloss it over and say that they were wicked people. They don't say how they were wicked.
Right. What's up, Duppy?
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Man.
Oh, I forgot my coat. Damn it.
So Anka Vanka is putting me on the spot. We're having a side chat. You can probably see it in the chat. And the question is what is this weird test of Abraham where he's like, you're not supposed to kill, but he's like, go kill Isaac. So how do we square that? Especially me, wanting to defend.
I think that doesn't that have more to do with the fact that he wanted a child so badly that would be like the last thing he would want to do? Wasn't it more about that?
Do you guys realize how many man hours have gone into studying and debating this very incident?
Yeah.
Well, it's
probably more than, from what I've seen, probably more than any other single issue in the Bible.
Right.
This one has been debated.
Well, I know what they don't need to study. That walk back, I bet you that shit was quiet. You know what I'm saying? I bet you little dude was like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, just looking at him like,
were you really
know what I'm saying?
That?
Like, I can't even trust you no more, bro.
Well, I put him at about 13, and I think he helped carry some of the
Kindling.
binding and everything. I think he knew going up there what was going on.
Well, he kept telling him.
When you
kept telling him that God would provide. God would provide.
Yeah.
But when you truly love like one of your parents, like say I had intentions like that, my son wouldn't think I would do something like that.
Right.
Little dude was asking questions though.
Right.
Hey, don't we need a sacrifice for this?
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's funny.
I have a guess. No, I don't like to wander too far from our topic, but
right.
I have a guess that might make sense. In response to Duppy and the endless debate. From what I gathered about other Canaanite gods, it was common practice to sacrifice the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
I think particularly a son. So it makes sense coming into the land of Canaan. He tells him, "Look, I'm this other god. I'm going to take care of you. I'm bringing you into my land, my domain. I'm bringing you into Canaan." And for him to ask to sacrifice his firstborn, even though he had made him a promise that you'll be a great nation, makes perfect sense. He would have been like, "Oh yeah, this is what all the Canaanite gods expect."
Right.
And how is this any different? So I have to do this. I have to do this. I don't really have a choice here.
I think you're right on target. I think it's multi-layered.
Yeah,
Like,
and this God, Yahweh, presumably differentiated himself from the other Canaanite gods in that manner.
by at the last minute saying, "Nope, I'm different."
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I usually think that Abram was having a fever dream, and I know that Moses. I'm for simplicity. I'm going to hold that Moses wrote Genesis. We can debate that for fun, but I know Moses wrote that Yahweh told Abram. So there's not really a way for me to say Abraham was just acting like a fevered maniac, but I really have that feeling that he was just doing he comes from Ur of Chaldeans. They also would have been familiar with this practice, I would think. So I don't think he ever thought it would be weird. Things aren't working out. I'm gonna go kill the
G-Ross,
oldest.
I got a quick question for you. If Moses wrote that,
Yeah.
which language did he write it in?
I would guess Hebrew. I could be wrong, I guess, based on the question.
Hebrew myself.
Say again, Drew?
I'd say Hebrew myself.
That's what I'm guessing.
I'm looking at my timeline thing because I did look into this, and I found it very interesting that he would have had to write it in Proto-Sinaitic based on the time scale. So even the Phoenician alphabet didn't exist at that point, which I find kind of interesting.
So is Proto-Sinaitic like what the high courts of Egypt would have used?
No, they would have been still using hieroglyphs. Proto-Sinaitic was like the ghetto shortcut language.
Well, because Moses knew both. He was kind of he was slave. He knew the slave people and he knew the ruling class.
Yeah, perhaps.
So
it would have had to have been either hieroglyphs, which there's no way he would fit the 10 Commandments on two rocks.
Right.
So it probably had to be Proto-Sinaitic.
That's interesting.
I never thought about that before.
Yeah, I never thought about it either, honestly.
I'm going to dig into that. That's awesome.
Well, hang on. Let me find it on my spreadsheet. I've lost what time Proto-Sinaitic was supposed to have.
I will admit, I grew up Catholic and I'm an altar boy, but I was never touched.
I'm glad you stayed free of those weirdos.
That's comforting.
I'm just joking.
I had to put the last in.
So did you learn any of the cool Latin mass stuff, or was it all English?
I'm a quarter Italian, so
nice.
My grandfather is 100% Italian, and so when my grandparents had a fight, they talked in Italian. So the grandkids didn't know what the fuck was going on. Excuse my language.
When them Italians start cursing in Italian, it's beautiful.
We caught on. I got Italian written all over my body.
Nice.
I love them. I'm sorry,
awesome.
but I'm Italian.
That's awesome.
My son's mother, she's Hispanic, and when she gets upset, she's born and raised here she was born here in Arizona, raised here, but both her parents are from Mexico, and so when she gets upset, angry, she'll speak English and Spanish, right? And I remember one time she was cussing me out about something, and I wasn't getting upset. I wasn't in a mood to argue, but dude, I was getting turned on. You know what I mean? Going back and forth between the English and the Spanish, I was like, shit. I don't know what the fuck you just said, but that was sexy. You know,
You were
like
in a Spike Lee movie.
Damn,
Yoda, I'm afraid to find out what Russian would do to you.
That's your family, Yoda.
yeah. That's why it's my family. You know what I mean?
You don't get turned on by your family, though.
That's my son. Wait. That's my son's mother.
That's
How do you think? How do you think I got a son?
Okay,
It's kind of like it's my wife's boyfriend, Ontario.
I don't know what you meant, but like that's your family. Of course it is.
Sorry, I misspoke or I misheard.
That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
Well, did you find it, Duffy?
Yeah, 1500 BC is when Proto-Sinaitic first seems to have appeared. So conventional wisdom for Moses, time of Ramses, that would be about 200 years after Proto-Sinaitic first came into being.
So you think that Moses wrote the book of Genesis? Is that what you're talking about?
I'll take that position. I'll take that position because I'm supposed to, and I haven't proven otherwise.
Who else is eligible to write the book of Genesis?
Committee, a bunch of oral tradition. I don't know, Duppy, Thaggy, anyone?
Stuff I've read suggests that most of that stuff wasn't actually written down until much, much, much later.
Well, even when Moses was in Egypt, the Hebrews already had their faith with God.
Sure,
So,
but it was everything was oral tradition, probably.
So they didn't have nothing written down on some papyrus leaf somewhere?
No, it was called. They're called targums. Right?
What is it?
Mean, I know about oral traditions and stuff, but
yeah, targum. Targum is the sort of recited scripture, and just like you have in Native American culture or any early culture, your ancestry, your legends, myths, and scriptures are all memorized, and you have an entire like school of people who volunteer to learn the stories so they can be preserved. Until I think maybe Duffy's onto something. It may not even have been written down until they were in the Babylonian captivity, is what some people say.
Yep, I've heard that.
I've even seen some suggestions that it was never really written down until the Septuagint was created in Alexandria, which would be after.
But that wouldn't make sense because
Babylonian
what would
captivity.
they be? But what would they be translating?
Yeah.
Well, then there's another aspect that you got to think about too.
Well, no. Do you know the story of the Septuagint?
Yeah, I just got mine in the mail this week.
The other aspect of this conversation is the fact that some people suggest that our Bible and our archetypes in it are from previous stories in what we consider mythology when it comes to like Egyptian mythology and Osiris and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like if they had stories from that other stuff and this is just a copy of those stories that are copies of another story, and I'm just saying, you know, objectively, right? I'm not saying that's the way it is, but I don't know the answer to that one.
My gut feeling is that it actually was first written down in the Babylonian exile.
I think it's fairly compelling.
A lot of different things point towards that period of time.
Not going to disagree. I haven't done even a little bit of sort of, I just know the party line on that. I haven't really validated anything. It's like
So somebody was asking questions earlier about the Exodus. Did you guys want to hear Ellis's take on it? It's a little different, but
I'm in.
I don't know if that's a topic that you still wanted to discuss.
I'm in.
Let's do it.
All right, so
I guess I'm outvoted.
Oh wait, you don't want to do it?
you don't want to do it?
I think it's premature, but I'm outvoted.
Well,
why would
okay.
it be premature in terms
Because-
of the order that we're going? So we're
Because
still on Abraham.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's part of
Okay.
the Exodus.
That's
part of the
fair.
Exodus.
That's fair enough. I can agree with that.
But after a build-up like that, how can you deny them? How can you deny your audience this juicy morsel?
All right. So, put yourself in my shoes as a geologist. The hypothesis of the Santorini volcanic event having something to do with the Exodus story, because there's a number of things that kind of match up, like the pillar of fire, the plagues as effects of a big volcanic eruption, things like that. That possible. Oh, and the parting of the Reed Sea. Those all fascinated me. So, just a couple of years ago when I first started looking into it,
Wait,
that
hold on.
really intrigued me.
I have a comment. Say what you're saying is real. That everything you're saying would be like the cause and effect of a natural disaster. That would take God's hand completely out of the story.
No, why couldn't God have caused the volcanic eruption?
Oh, I see what you mean.
So anyway, it's pretty rare that you get the possibility of a physical event that can be recognized scientifically lining up with something in the Bible. But the problem is the volcanic eruption has been dated to about 1550 to 1600 BC, whereas the conventional view on the Exodus that it happened during Ramses the Great's reign as pharaoh.
How was it dated? Was it carbon dated?
They, believe it or not, part of it, yes.
Because there's been a lot of talk about carbon dating not being.
I know. I know. I hear that all the time. But they actually, on the island of Santorini, they found some wood that was encased in volcanic ash, and that tree presumably was living at the time of the eruption, and it eventually became enveloped in the ash, and the date on that came out to about 1600 BC. And there's been a lot more studies of relative ages of the ash layers around the Mediterranean that point towards that too.
Which volcano was this?
Santorini in it's like north of Crete in the Aegean. And it was basically, it's known to be probably the biggest volcanic eruption that has occurred in Europe in recorded history. I mean, it dwarfs Mount Etna and Vesuvius and all that stuff. And it was very explosive. It basically, like Krakatoa, blew the island apart. Now there's just a big crater in the ocean floor there with a few cliffs surrounding it. But anyway,
they also call it something else. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Thera, Thera. That's the other name for it.
No, this is Minoan. Did I say that?
Yeah, the Minoans were the civilization on Crete, just to the south of that island. and supposedly they got beat up pretty bad by the volcanic eruption and the tsunamis. It didn't really destroy their civilization, but it may have started it on a downhill slide. And the Minoans did have a colony on the island of Santorini called, there's a city there that they've archaeologically excavated called Akrotiri. And they found all these cool paintings and stuff on the walls there. But they found no dead bodies. So they think that the Minoans were able to evacuate the island before it blew. It's kind of a cool story. Does that ring a bell with what you remember?
So that is not at all located where I thought it might have been.
Did you look at it up on a map? It's kind of like due north, a couple 100 miles from Egypt.
Dude, that's like in the middle of. Hold on, let me click to more. Because I'm looking at the Mediterranean Sea, and then that's not a good map. I hate when you click like one of the maps and you think it's gonna be good, but then like the actual size of it is so small that it's blurry when it pulls up.
Yep.
Oh, I hate that.
Duppy, I'm trying to find some good debate online about Proto-Sinaitic versus Hebrew for Genesis. I don't see a lot. I think you're onto a new topic. Have you seen a lot about that?
No, but when I was putting the timeline together, it occurred to me one day, what the hell would Moses have?
Right.
What language would he have written the 10 Commandments in? I'm not even talking about Genesis, just the 10 Commandments. And my first, before I kind of dug into this, was like, I don't think he could have fit it on there in hieroglyphs.
Right.
And so, then it was making sure there was something he could have written it in that existed that far back.
Right.
That could work. And yeah, Proto-Sinaitic could work, I suppose. But of course, in the movies, they'll probably use modern Hebrew letters.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And modern Hebrew letters were only invented when they were in Babylon, supposedly. So it couldn't have been that.
There is a little bit on the internet about Proto-Sinai 10 Commandments. I'm seeing a little bit on that.
Chops just put an interesting point in the chat about the Santorini thing, as far as like using Santorini as an explanation for the plagues. He mentions, I think he's alluding to flooding on the Nile or something like that. So coming from the south, but that might only get a couple of the plagues, I suspect.
Got it.
But anyway, so what Ellis says is that the eruption of Santorini being so huge is what he calls a black swan event, that it must have caused such extreme havoc and was such a rare event that to have the effects like in the biblical plague, how either the plagues were just forget Santorini, they were an act of God and look at them individually, or he says all of those plagues could be explained by after effects of the Santorini eruption. There is even a reference to an ash fall in the Bible.
How does the volcano create the frog epidemic?
Have to do with ash polluting the waterways in the Nile Delta, I think, and the effects that would have on the life that like oxygen deprivation would set in the water there, and the frogs would be trying to get away from it or something like that.
I mean, because I'm looking at the distance. If I got the right location, I'm looking at the distance from where that's located in Egypt. That would have messed for it to have that kind of effect on Egypt. That would have messed up everything.
It did. It did. I mean, you know, Krakatoa and Tambora, when those erupted, they affected the weather across the globe. I mean, that's, you know, and that's why people think that if Yellowstone were to blow, that would be the end for the whole planet, kind of thing. Because remember,
man.
all that ash goes up in the atmosphere and stays there for years.
When you said Yellowstone, you just reminded me of something. Earlier it might have been over the weekend. I don't remember now. I was looking at something and they were talking about hot springs like Yellowstone. Or actually like the only word I could think of is jail cell. But it's actually like a prison for like some of the fallen angels.
I haven't heard that, but if you wanted to punish a fallen angel, that'd be a good place to stick them.
Why do you say that?
Because it would be very uncomfortable.
Well, it has something to do with
they can't cross water.
No, it has something to do with the molten rock and the punishment, and them being like deep underground, and that's the reason why the water comes out hot or something like that. I'll have to try to find what that was I was looking at, because a lot of times I'll play something to help me fall asleep, and then I'm just bouncing in and out of, like, you know, I doze off a little bit and I wake up a little bit, you know, and I'm still trying to pay attention, right? I'll have to try to refine what that was.
All right, I'm gonna pop off.
Drew, thanks for hanging out and showing your awesome Italian ink.
But yeah, looking at this.
Thanks for bringing that altar boy knowledge.
There's the compass.
Nice.
And there's Italy somewhere right in there.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, G. Ross, for inviting me.
Thanks for coming by.
Night, Drew.
Yeah. Night, Duppy. Night, Pythagi. Night.
Bye, Droopy Doo.
Later, bro.
Is that Sloan Porch or Sloan TV? I get them confused.
It's one of the Sloans.
It's one of the Sloans, I do know. We'll tell him I said good night when he comes back.
Will do.
Alrighty. Good night. Thank you, G. Ross.
Good night. Thanks.
So you guys want me to continue with the Santorini thing, or have you had enough?
I'm curious.
Okay. So anyway, there's actually been papers written, scientific papers, saying that they've gone in detail, like the question you asked about the individual plagues and how they can be explained by volcanic effects. Not just volcanic effects that happen the day of the eruption, but, you know, the following weeks to months later. But what I always thought was really interesting was the tsunami aspect as explaining the parting of the Red Sea.
Well, hold on. You got to stop her on that one, because the plagues had already happened, right? You can't have the parting of the Red Sea as a cause and effect of the volcano.
That is one of the weaknesses of that story. Yes. However, you're assuming that the order things occurred was exactly how it was recorded in the Bible.
But it kind of has a story order in that case, doesn't it?
Well, my guess would be if you want to try to match up the scientific thing, that somebody witnessed the tsunami on the northern coast and how, it affected the Reed Sea.
Yep.
And then added that into the Exodus story at some later date.
Got it.
I can bite on that.
Was that Inspector Sloan doing an investigation a minute ago with that flashlight?
I have no idea.
No, I was getting coal from outside for the wood burner.
Got it.
Where are you at that is that cold, Sloan?
Akron, Ohio, right under Lake Erie.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Well, you guys are gonna get some snow because we got a little less than a foot today, and it's heading towards you.
We'll deal with it.
Yeah, I mean this wasn't a bad storm at all.
Do you remember that last storm when the people were out in sub-zero weather trying to charge their Tesla?
Yeah. we dropped from that day, that first day of that storm, we dropped from 50 degrees in the afternoon to -10 by midnight.
Oh. Yeah, that's a big one.
That was crazy.
Oh, dude, did y'all see the storm that came here in Phoenix? Dude, we had like 2.5 feet of sunshine.
Yeah. So that's normal. When a storm comes through Phoenix, you get 2.5 feet of sunshine instead of 8 feet of sunshine.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I don't know how we handled it. Dude, it was miserable.
So
we
anyway,
interrupted you, Dumpy. Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I was fascinated by that correlation, being a geo guy. And when I looked into it, I thought, well, this is possible, but there's so much more to the Exodus story that doesn't seem to have a part in this. And so I started thinking, what if the Exodus story, let me back up. You guys have heard about the Hyksos pharaohs of Egypt, right?
Well, there could be some in the chat that haven't, though.
Okay, so the Hyksos pharaohs were a subgroup of a couple of dynasties in the Nile Delta that were there ruling as pharaohs locally for about 200 years, from the 1700s BC until they got kicked out of Egypt by the people in the south in about 1550 BC, right at about the time of the Santorini eruption. So I knew about that too. And so I started thinking, well, but that's about 200 to 300 years earlier than when the biblical Exodus was supposed to take place. But here you had a form of an Exodus. People, and the Hyksos people were from Canaan before they got to Egypt. So they were Canaanites. They got kicked out of Egypt. And they got kicked out right at the time of the volcanic eruption. So that's a lot of a match to the story.
That
but
really
it doesn't
is.
match all of it. So I started thinking, well, what if there was two? Because we know Joseph came back to Egypt at some point.
Right.
Come on.
So what if the biblical story is the conflation of two different events that basically got stuck together into one? And then I discovered Ralph Ellis, and he was on that same track already. So he says that it was two events. There was the Great Exodus, which was the Hyksos one, earlier than the Bible sort of suggests. And then there was a later one with Moses and Aaron and that group that happened later. And he basically says that that had a lot to do with our favorite pharaoh, Akhenaten.
So you bring up an interesting point, and there could be a way to kind of talk about multiple stages of the Exodus in the following. Some of the prophecies of Christ's advent were only partially fulfilled, and so that's why people talk about a second advent that hasn't happened yet. And some people will say you're basically you're seeing the future, but there's the future then, and then there's the future down the road, and they call it telescoping. I'm reversing that and saying maybe, because you're right, like Joseph went back in, maybe you could use that same argument. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For me, the plain fact that it wasn't written down until almost 1,000 years after this stuff happened, pretty much anything is possible.
Right. It gets a little compressed.
Yeah.
Combined up.
Yeah. I mean, because
that out of everything makes a really valid point.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we heard the old adage that how much a story changes every time it's told from person to person to person? Imagine, even though the Israelites and Hebrews are known to have been very fastidious in keeping accurate records of things, but just imagine how difficult that is to do over 1,000 years.
While I'm comfortable to talk in terms of how it accumulated and then got snapshotted, I still think there is a version, which we don't have any of the original writings. Like we have the Dead Sea Scrolls and a couple of bits. Those are still copies. Nobody's ever seen what would be the original first time it was put down on paper, right? So we just have to triangulate back to it.
Dude, they got clay tablets that they haven't even deciphered yet.
G-Ross, you just walked right into what I left out.
Tell me.
Do you guys have access to just Wikipedia or something?
Yeah.
Let me see if you can do this. But if you look up the Tempest Stella, this event was actually recorded.
How do you spell
Stella's S-T-E-L-E.
Oh, Tempest.
This event was actually recorded by the Egyptians near the time that it happened.
A great storm. 1550 BCE.
Yep. That's right when the Hyksos got booted. Because what happened when the Hyksos got booted out, that was the beginning of the 18th dynasty. The dynasty that everybody knows about. King Tut, Akhenaten, Ahmose, all the most famous pharaohs basically sprung up right after the Hyksos got kicked out in 1550.
So the one before that would be the Cuth dynasty.
Cuth,
the 17th.
Is that what it's?
No,
is that Hebrew for 17?
No, Q-F.
Oh, Cuth. Okay, I got you.
Theban. I'm looking up the 17th dynasty now.
I think 17th was it's a little bit debated, but I think that they think that was the Hyksos. 16th and 17th dynasties were supposedly the Hyksos.
Well, just like Q to try to take over. I don't know what that means. Q's not a takeover artist. Cool. That's an interesting event.
Ellis also spends a lot of time putting together a possible story in the Akhenaten framework for Moses and Aaron, because Akhenaten's brother, and I haven't verified this, but Akhenaten's brother was named Tutmosis. And so Ellis thinks that, and Akhenaten, basically his attempt at changing the religion in Egypt to a monotheistic religion,
Right.
had the kibosh put on it, and he disappeared from history. And so Ellis thinks that Tutmosis, Akhenaten's brother, might be the biblical Moses, and Akhenaten might actually be Aaron. And just to add some spice to it, he thinks that Mount Sinai was actually the Great Pyramid.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty trippy one right there.
How could that be the Great Pyramid?
Oh, how much time do you have?
Me, not a ton.
Basically, he thinks that Akhenaten, being Aaron, and his brother being Moses, they pissed off, they and their followers pissed off the rest of Egypt. They were essentially heretics as far as the rest of Egypt was concerned. And eventually they got kicked out of Egypt. But remember, Egypt, like Thebes and all of that, the main capital of Egypt was further south. So when they got kicked out of their city Akhenaten that they had been building, or Akhetaten that they had been building, they headed north up to the Nile Delta, where their ancestors, the Hyksos people, had been, and maybe some of them still stayed there. And that led them north past the Great Pyramid. So that second Exodus actually was just up the Nile. And the first Exodus to have encountered the tsunami would have been along the coast from the Nile Delta to Canaan. So that whole Sinai trek is questioned by Ellis and people that follow that scenario.
Right on.
So I find that story very interesting, especially because it has the geology in it, and I don't get to delve into the geology too much anymore.
Right.
So let's say, the pyramid is about Sinai. How would you explain the burning bush?
Oh, good question. I can't remember what Ellis has to say about that. He does say that in the Bible, there's mention of a cave that Moses went in. Does anybody remember that?
A place where he snuck when God walked by?
Well, I think Ellis has said that in the Bible story, there's mention of a cave that Moses went into up there on Mount Sinai.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Great Pyramid used to have a cave in it, an entrance in it. But the Muslims or whomever tried to blow it up or something like that. But it is there. There is an entrance in the side of the pyramid.
Yeah.
And so
there's a tunnel. There's a tunnel that goes kind of down to the middle.
Yeah, it might be that one. I'd have to look at a diagram and
Zero,
scratch my head.
the one you're talking about, I don't think it's big enough for a person to fit into.
The one in the middle of the pyramid certainly is, but you might be thinking of the one that goes underground, like underneath the pyramid. That one's really tiny.
Yeah. There's some tunnels that people can go through. They'll let you go to the middle of the little pyramid.
Well, yeah. Remember the pictures of that passage with the staircase and how high the ceiling is there? It's like really high.
Yep.
It's like 40 feet high or something like that. They call it the Grand Gallery or something.
I've been in a few of those little rooms.
But as far as the bush, I can't remember what Ellis says about that, but he might say that that might have been invented that detail might have been invented, and he might have like actually gone inside the pyramid to. Ellis thinks that the Great Pyramid is actually a temple.
I mean, it's got a feel to it. It's something.
Yeah.
Or an observatory.
Well, here's the other thing. Ellis is a big proponent, and I think he's right, that it's an astrological temple, because all of the ancient religions, if you look at them carefully, are astrologically based. So that kind of covers both of what Thaggy said too.
Going back to Mount Sinai, Ellis said that the reason they called it Sinai was because they didn't want anyone to know that they were talking about the temple. So they're
About the pyramid.
Yeah, about the pyramid. They didn't want people to know about the pyramid,
right?
And its connection to this people, and
right.
why it was sacred. Why it was sacred to them. I mean, this is a very secretive people, and he points out later in how the Talmud, they always lie and use false names for people when they want to talk gossip, and they don't want you to know who they're talking about.
Well,
So they call Jesus Bilal, right? So for that same reason, they try to bury a lot of stuff so that outsiders won't.
What they're really trying to hide is their Egyptian roots, according to Ellis.
And I do know that the Egyptian government, they have that shit on lock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that Zahi Was asshole.
Yeah. Mori, have you shaved today?
You can't get permission to do a damn thing in Egypt.
I'm gonna see if I can find a picture of me with the pyramids.
Oh, you've been there?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hey, how about if I send you a picture of Zahi Hawass, G. Ross, and you can show it because he's with a surprise guest.
Yes.
You
game?
Yeah, send me a picture.
Okay, hang on.
I'm curious. Who's the surprise guest?
You'll see.
Surprise.
Here's a picture of me with a Moroccan snake charmer, but that's the other side of Africa.
Isn't that Kamala's nickname? You know what's amazing is that any conversation you can throw in Kamala, Swalwell, and Stacey Abrams jokes. Almost any conversation.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? Somebody on my Facebook was talking about Abrams, and she was trying to push forward a bill. I can't remember what it was about.
Guys were doing so good. You were doing so good.
But no, I made the comment. I was like, look, man, I wouldn't worry about that. That bill isn't going to go any farther than the gap in her teeth. You know what I mean?
Good one.
But I cannot remember what it was.
I call that the precipice.
I cannot stand that lady.
Yeah.
All right, I just sent you the picture.
All right, let me go get it. Do we have Norm? Oh, yeah. This picture is crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Norm?
Not much. How you doing, Steven? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. No, I wasn't sure if I got the audio set up correctly.
And as is traditional, I was, of course, just about to start signing out, but I couldn't say no.
Oh, yeah, just as I come on. Yeah.
I know. There's that two buttheads, and that's what's his name? The chief of staff.
How you doing, Salone?
Good to see you, Norm.
Is that Ramen
Hey, Faggy,
over here?
Yeah.
Doppy, I'm going.
Yes.
Keep going. Come on, Norm. Hit us.
Did he mute himself by accident?
Probably. So that's Rahm Emanuel, and then that chief of staff, I forget his name, the balding guy.
Axelrod,
Yep.
David Axelrod. And that's Zahi Hawass wearing the hat.
Yep.
So anybody who's ever watched the History Channel should recognize Zahi Hawass because he fucks up every show they have on Egypt.
Mm-hmm. He's
You
the
talking
gatekeeper.
You talking about the archaeologist guy?
Yep. That's
Yeah.
him. And you know what's amazing is like 5 years ago, he sort of got deposed as the Supreme Antiquities Director or whatever the frick he calls himself. But now he's back.
Ugh.
I don't understand how that happens. I mean, I remember watching a History Channel documentary where they found some like unexplored caves under the Giza Plateau, and they set up the show for like half an hour preparing for this epic
that had Maury
exploration of these
Povich.
caves.
But
That's
it ended up to be like
nothing.
the cave or the vault of
A slave.
Hold on, let me think of this. In Chicago, with not Maury Povich, it was
Maury Povich. Maury,
no.
Did you shave today?
It was not Morty. It was I'm thinking of the caves of Al Capone or something like that.
Oh, okay, right.
What was his name? Gerardo.
Yes.
Gerardo, yeah.
And there was supposed to be like caves underneath the Sphinx of the right foot or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard something about that.
There ended up being nothing, but apparently that was all a hoax too.
Right.
But
what I was getting at was that they spent this whole show preparing and building up this exploration. At the last minute, Hawass came in and shut him down.
Oh, butthead.
For the right, my microphone is noisy. Or something like that, and it was like Gerardo. Well, Gerardo got his start with JFK and the whole footage, but do you remember when he did the Al Capone's vaults?
Yes.
But that's kind of what they were building it up to, right? The same sort of
It
thing.
was kind of like that, but at least Gerardo got to look. These guys didn't.
It was a big letdown nonetheless, but yeah, you're right.
So anyway, yeah, those are some bad people in that picture.
Yup.
But I got to say this. Obama looks awfully happy and comfy in his home. I mean, in Egypt.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't see what you guys are looking at. Well, hold on.
You got to refresh. I
see. I see it now.
Yeah.
Will the panel permit me to start winding down?
Yeah.
I kind of just remember,
G Ross has
but
a
I got a
purple
test
belt thing.
tomorrow.
He has a purple belt thing with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tomorrow. I don't know what time, but he had told us all before we even started.
Okay.
A couple hours ago. Well,
if anything, we've probably been on a lot longer than he intended.
No, 90 minutes. How can you do anything in less than 90 minutes? You can't.
Hey, I got final thoughts.
Hit it.
Because she was just that hot.
Right. Amen.
Pete Aggie, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you guys have a great evening. Fun show. Really enjoy it.
Thanks,
All right, night, Sloan.
Sloan,
Take care.
I'm sorry I got late. I was busy earlier, but good talk.
Always good to talk.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Okay, G Ross, do you study Gracie style grappling or?
Yes, I'm at a Machado
all right.
school, so it's very close to Gracie. There's a couple
All
differences. I think the Machados
Yeah, no.
like to pull guard a lot
Mhm.
and retain guard, but yeah, it's really similar.
Who are you talking about?
But Gracie's more offensive, and you're
Mhm.
more defensive, right?
Yep.
Correct. All right. Yeah.
The two schools of Jits, Duppy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wonderful.
That's why you use Jitsi, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Norm, I actually get about twice a year. I get in, it's a seminar, so there's like 50 people there, but we get instruction from Carlos Machado directly. It's pretty good.
That is so cool. I've been to Camp Budokan, where it's not them, but students of theirs, and okay. We'll talk about this later.
We have to do a Jits night. Yeah, we'll do a whole Jits discussion.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's cool. Totally cool.
Awesome.
And I'm sorry I got here so late. I would have talked about this more, but
I kept checking the DMs because I was like, any minute now, Norm's gonna say, "I'm here."
I had some other Matrix real life IRL stuff to deal with tonight, but yeah, I
hope
wish
it
I
worked out.
Got here earlier.
I hope it worked out. Well, we covered. I'll do my closing thoughts before we close out. We covered just 9 verses, and it was Abram first leaving Haran and heading down towards the Negev. He'll eventually hit Egypt. He'll eventually hit Mitzrayim. But I make the argument that his crew is thugging, basically. I don't know how well I made the argument, but that's my thesis for the night. They're like rolling like a posse, taking over towns everywhere they go.
Well, geographically,
so they're not. You're saying they're not on a sojourn?
Are you sure he's not West Side? Or...
He chose West Side. He was at the crossroads.
Southern.
Pythaggy.
Hey, G. Ross. I remember the other day we were talking about Shinar and where that might be.
Yep.
I saw something. I think it was last night or this morning that said that Shinar is described as the land between the two rivers.
Oh, there you
as
go.
where the name came from. Literally means the land between the two rivers.
Right.
And everybody sort of assumes, oh, that's the Tigris and Euphrates, so it must be down Sumer, Babylon area, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there, I believe Haran also sits between the Tigris and the Euphrates.
Right.
So that area of northwest Syria qualifies as well.
It does. I was all over Google Maps today, and then I found Haran. Yeah, it's still there.
But anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting.
Pythaggy, you were going to comment or retort about whether Abram was thugging?
It doesn't sound right. I mean, I'm going to I'm going to reply with a question. So are you saying he was not simply on a sojourn on his way to the Negev? You're saying he was like raping, pillaging, conquering, planting his flagpole or whatever?
Maybe rolling large and accumulating wealth as he went everywhere he went, multi-generationally, nomadically, kind of like, what do you call him?
Johnny Appleseed is what he was saying, planting his flagpole.
What are the what are the Bedouin? Kind of like the Bedouin, but more like, kind of gypsies-ish. I don't know.
I just think that your notion needs to be substantiated. How about that?
You guys want to hear the Ellis take on this?
How long will that take?
Depends on how many times I get interrupted.
Okay, I won't
say
a
word. Is it a Duffy file? Is it a file? Okay, zip.
No. The ancient Egyptian historian Manetho, as recorded by Flavius Josephus, suggests that the first Hyksos entry into the Nile Delta was rather violent. And Ellis makes a case that Abram might have been one of the first Hyksos pharaohs in the Delta. So if that's correct, then he'd be thugging. Now, modern archaeology insists that the Hyksos taking over the Nile Delta was peaceful, more like an infiltration.
Mm-hmm.
But I showed this to Ankavanka today. There is a Hyksos pharaoh at about the right time Abram is supposed to have lived, called Mabry. Maaibre. I find that very interesting.
What does it make you think of, Mabry?
Sounds like Abraham to me.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it took me a second.
Yeah, there's also another Hyksos pharaoh called Yakaba.
Jacob.
Huh.
Yep. And I do kind of mean more like running a big operation, which kind of fits more the infiltration.
But at least in this portion of the scripture that we read, he goes in real quick and gets out real quick. So how is he like established as a pharaoh or something?
He's one of the
in
key
and out.
things, I think his dad named the town of Haran after their lost son, or Lot's dad. He died in Ur Chaldees. His name was Haran. I know it's slightly spelled different, but what are the odds? I think they impact wherever they go.
Well, telephone game. No, I think you're correct. It's the same thing, but
Yep.
But there's a lot of variables in everything. There's a spider web.
Yep. And the text
and a telephone game of everything.
I think Haran is a very, very, very old city that probably predates Abraham. So the question is, did it have a different name before then?
Right. And in the text today, he brought with him people from Haran, and we're going to find out later that he just keeps making those people more and more well-trained and armed and like a personal bodyguard crew. And so I don't know. It's a hypothesis that I'm kind of carrying around with me.
The scripture says that he's super wise and that God is with him. And so the question is, how does people join him because they see that he's under the protection of God. And so, they join his number and they enlist, let's say.
Yep.
And that's said point blank in the scriptures. However, what does that mean? How was he showing them that he was under God's protection?
Maybe he had a time traveler cigarette lighter and he's like, ooh, magic, look, ching. Some kind of trick, like, or if he rolls successful, then they're going to keep, I don't know.
Ooh, fire. Yeah, fire is always like a good time traveler.
Right.
Norm's in alien mode again.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
You're bonking.
No, I'm on my kitchen computer and Kitty. Okay, Kitty is
Hello,
putting,
Kitty. Brought the blankie.
She's taking care of me, and if you notice, there's an alien here.
Mm-hmm.
Where's
Peace
the
alien.
Poop?
So I did my last words.
The shit doesn't even show up. Yeah.
I went ahead and did my last words. Anybody else want to hit it?
Hi,
Kitty.
I'll go.
Okay.
Thanks, Bethaggy.
All right. No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So yeah, my question, I want to just touch three quick things, and I promise they'll be quick. So it was the famine that brought Abraham into Egypt for that first time.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Bible says it actually says it twice. It was like an extreme kind of situation, right? So
I think it was aliens.
We don't know how long he was down there.
Right.
Again, the sort of you're lost in the time. So don't assume you know how long he was down there, but here's how he became wealthy. I disagree with your hypothesis, G. Ross.
Fair.
Not that he acquired his wealth through pillage, but we're told in this little section, or that's coming up, that he takes his family, his immediate family, and his familiars, and he takes Sarai. And once she is released from the harem, it comes with like a huge reward: gold,
Yes.
silver,
Yes.
oxen,
So
and
He's
that's how to
parlaying.
say that's how to say he pimped out his wife in like 100 words.
come on.
But he's parlaying, right? Like he's trading up every time. He's like a Donald Trump or a Steve Ross, who's founding Time Warner out of
To say pimping out is to miss the whole point of the story, which is
Fair.
that Pharaoh did not know her in that way, and he was tormented by plagues, preventing him from even getting close to her.
Right.
And when he discovered what was going on, he said, "Get her the hell out of here. Take
Right.
her and take all these riches with you." He bribed
Right.
him to
Right.
get the hell out of Egypt.
It's payola.
Yeah.
It took him
So-
40 days and 40 nights, I'm sure, because it's
So that was
like-
that was
No,
my
that-
first
that's
point.
how-
You know, when
it's
you
my
do-
turn. I'm trying to
Bible.
close.
No, let
I'm
me
trying to
there you
close
go.
real quick.
Sorry.
I'm trying to close real quick, guys.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I could really do this.
No. He's got to go.
I could really do this. With your help, I can do this. All right. So that's how he acquires his wealth. And from there, it keeps multiplying, as we're going to be seeing in the upcoming chapters.
Yes.
Number 2 point, they always say Noah. Noah's always, or not Noah. They always say Abraham's name first, even though he was the youngest, right? So the sons of Terah were Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. But Haran was the oldest, Nahor was the middle, and Abraham was the youngest. Just like we saw in the Ham, Shem, Japheth, we know that Ham was the baby of the family. Yet because he's so famous, he gets named first. I think there's a little clue there. I don't know. It just seems reminiscent, right? And point number 3, in this section, you're inevitably going to come up across the controversy. Another one argued for the ages: was Sarai the sister, the actual sister of Abraham, or is it left to obscurity and we're going to assume that we don't know her lineage? Well, the Bible, as we have it handed down to us, the official canon doesn't say point blank, but Josephus does. He just comes right on and says it. So that's where I think where it really sort of stirs the pot.
Well, what do you mean it doesn't say that it's not his wife or it is his wife?
Well, remember when he tells the Pharaoh this little fib that it's his sister, he tries to later explain it away and said, "No, I did tell the truth because actually she is from my father's line, but we have a different mother."
Right.
I mean,
that might be an excuse, but it could actually be true. And Josephus is just cutting right through all of the noise. He's like, "Look, it was his sister."
Well,
I mean, if you ask me, it sounds
it's
like
like
one
a
big
half
hustle.
sister. Yeah.
I think half, but yeah.
Overall, it just sounds like a hustle. They deceived the
It's a
Pharaoh.
hustle,
Well,
yes.
He was getting benefits from the deception. They were hustling, right? That's I
Right.
mean,
what do you mean by benefits, Black Yoda?
Like
the
friends,
Pharaoh-
friends with
sister?
benefits.
No. The Pharaoh was so infatuated with Sarai that he was like, "Yo, I don't want to offend you, so I'm gonna give you some goats and some sheep and some jewels and some silver and whatnot. You go play over there and play with something shiny while I entertain myself, right?"
Well, yeah, it's squirrel.
Right.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shiny.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pete Thaggy. That was a great 3 hits.
There you go.
Ah.
Who wants it? We got 3 left.
I'll just quickly say that I don't really have much to say. I missed most of the show, so I added a few anecdotes and hopefully food for thought. And it's good conversation.
Thank you, Duppy.
I'll go next. For not having much material over what was read in the Bible tonight, you know, Thaggy and Duppy, they brought a lot to the table as far as carrying the conversation. Definitely some interesting topics. I'll have to take a look at the whole pyramid Sinai thing.
Mhm.
That's definitely new information to me.
I can make it easier on you. Ralph Ellis does a lot of podcasts, and if you just do a YouTube search on Ralph Ellis, you can probably find his whole take on the Exodus.
Okay, I'll do that. Let me write that down real quick.
No, I got here late. I'm probably the latest one to get here, and I just wanted to apologize to Black Yoda for the last conversation we had. Well, it wasn't even the last conversation we had. I was just in that conversation, and Black Yoda, Stephen, you left there kind of angry. I don't know what happened because I was there, but no, I just want to say I love you, man. That's
You know
all.
what? I don't
I
remember.
was just there.
It might have been my roommate that pissed me off. I don't remember.
But no, it was the following show last week sometime, and you left, and somebody else said something. I just want to say, no, I've always loved you, man. I will always love you, no matter what.
Dude, you and I go back. I
Yeah.
don't even. Honestly,
We
I
go
don't
back
even know
to
what you're
Craig
talking about.
Mason's. We go back to Craig
The hot
Mason's waiting
tub.
room before any.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
That
Yeah.
thing was
You're talking
awesome.
about on Discord.
Yeah.
I
But
forgot about
no,
that.
I love you, man, and no, I'll always love you no matter what. So
I thought last week we closed out early because G Ross wanted to get some sleep.
I always want to get some
no, that was
sleep.
last week, but then the next day, you were talking about something I didn't want to talk about. It was kind of bad. Well, I don't even want to go there.
I put it like this: if I don't remember, it didn't happen. That's a rule of thumb for me.
Yeah, about eating. Okay, never mind. We will not talk about that. Last week. But it was after. It was Friday. And we will not talk about that. But some other people said some other things to you, and you left. And I was there, and let's not talk about that.
Oh, you're talking about the
Fallen.
Oh yeah. Oh, when you said the fallen, I was thinking fallen angel, like the real fallen. Oh,
No.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about now.
All right. Yeah. But let's not talk about that right now. But get into that. I just want to say that I still love you, man. And
You know what? I'll address that. I'll address that. So separately, I'll just address that separately. I'm still trying to close.
Yeah. Let's do that later. But yeah. But
no,
no, last time we talked, it was abruptly canceled, and yeah, I'm right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? I just want to say I still love you, man.
Oh, I know.
I wasn't part of that.
I know.
All right.
So as far as tonight, interesting conversation as far as the different topics Duppy and Thaggy brought up. The rest of what we're about to get into is about to get juicy, and so many conversations.
I thought the show was ending.
He means next week.
Yeah. I'm talking about like the next coming weeks. You know, as far as like the timeline with the Bible, it's about to get juicy. And you know, I always tell people, you know, you get caught up with watching TVs and movies, and I constantly tell people if you want some real dirt and like some real entertainment, just read the Bible because it has everything. I mean, it has it all, people. It really does. And if you just take the time, like we're trying to take the time to appreciate and navigate through these stories, it's all there. You know what I mean?
If you want the dirt, go to Leviticus right away.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
You're right on target.
I love you guys. Okay, I'm gonna go because no, I love you. I just want to say I love you, Stephen. And
I know.
yeah, we've had our stuff in the past, but I don't know. I just want to say I love you, but I gotta go. And G Ross, thank you for having me on all the time.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I love you too, man.
Love you
All
too.
right.
No,
I'm out of here, people. I'll see y'all next week.
Patagi, yeah.
All right. Good night, Norm. Good night, guys.
Yeah, and
All right. Good night, guys.
Dumpy.
Bye, Dumpy.
Not
Bye,
Dumpy.
Dumpy.
Dumpy. Sorry.
Night, John Boy.
Yeah, I
I
put
was-
him in there again.
I was hoping to get out before you screwed up my name.
Sorry, man. I know. We have addressed this. No,
I know it. I don't take offense at it, but I reserve the right to give you shit about it.
All right. No, yeah. The more you give me shit about it, the more I know. But thank you for giving me shit about it because I did it. But all right. Have a good night, guys. Love you.
Good night. Love you.
Love you guys all. Seriously.
Did we get everybody?
Love you too,
I'm
man.
I'm not gay. I just
Okay.
love you guys in
No
not
homo.
a gay way.
Night, guys.
Good night.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone. What a great panel. So let's start our outro music. You know, you may be wondering why we keep it so short. It's because I have to keep getting up so early. I would start earlier, but I got to catch a lot of Commander Sloan. You know what I'm saying? He starts at about 9 my time. So I got to get a good 2 hours of watching that before I can even think about starting up. So we keep our show to 2 hours, basically 11 to 1-ish Central. And next week is Genesis 12, verse 10 through 20. And we'll see where this awesome panel goes. Let me release the Scratchman. P-Huck, thank you for that cookie. Let me play a Here Comes Cookie. Will it let me?
Here comes Cookie.
All right. It's only going to take me about 5 minutes to break down the microphone, so I'll swing by Uncle Krusty, Sloan TV, say my hellos, do a little fox hopping. See you Friday with Angular. Oh, actually, Angular's going to go to a after-school party thing. So I'll see you Friday flying solo. Maybe we'll do some fun stuff. And then I forgot to ask if we're doing Dumpy Files Sunday. Probably we are. All right. Love you all.
Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.